Hi guys, hope everyone's fitting well. Welcome to another kit review. Alright, so today we're having a look at a kit from ICM. It is their Dornier Do 17Z-2 World War II German bomber. It is in 1/48 scale and the kit number is 48244. Now this kit came out in 2015. So it's only a few years old. As you can tell by the box art, you have 3 Dorniers heading over the White Cliffs of Dover. So the Z2 was an early World War II German bomber, or I should say early mark of the Dornier. Alright, so that's the box art, really nice. Definitely would be worth a poster if you could get one like that. And let's have a look at the rest of the box. So on the sides we've got a brief history of the aircraft itself. So it says here 39 to 40, 500 Dorniers were produced, and they took part of course in the French and Polish campaigns and also the Battle of Britain. You've got ICM's address in the Ukraine. So this is a large aircraft. It's 330 meters, 33 centimeters long, 37 centimeters in wingspan. All right, 245 parts, and the usual 14 plus warning. Okay, so that's that side. Let's have a look on the other. So on the other, you've got 2 side views of the Dornier in standard green 2-tone camouflage on the top and sky blue, well I call it sky blue, RLM 65 I think it is, underneath. Okay, so that's the box. That's the box cover, and let's have a look in. So this being a fairly newish kit, it is in ICM's very sturdy box with the top opening lid. These boxes are awesome because they're solid as, and you can use them for, well, I use my boxes for my spares and bits and pieces. Alright, so first up, instructions, glossy paper, really nice. We'll have a look at those shortly. First bag out. Okay, so first bag out is your clears, and already I can see that we do have a choice of cockpits for this aircraft. So put that aside. Next bag out is the main bag, which has everything in it. It is the decals and the entire kit. Right, so sorry about the noise. ICM's plastic is extremely noisy and crisp. Alright, we'll put that aside. Let's get rid of the box, and in a second we will have a look at the instructions. Okay, so let's have a look at the instructions. Alright, so same again. Ukrainian, English, brief history of the aircraft, plus technical specifications. Maximum speed, 426 kilometers an hour, 1160 kilometers range. Okay, service ceiling, 8200 meters. And then you've got your color callouts. So ICM usually only refer to one manufacturer, which is Model Master, and you do have 14 different colors. It's only called out in Ukrainian and English. Then of course you've got the usual warnings about make a hole here, cut this, these parts are not used. Alright, so let's have a look. So you've got 2 pages of Sprue Layout, as you can tell by the orange. These are parts that are not used, so one of those main canopies is not used, and also this looks like the gunner's positions underneath the belly of the aircraft are not used. Okay, so these are obviously for another variant of the Dornier. Same goes over here. You've got certain parts, looks like air intakes, etc., that are not used. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sprues, and that's all you get, 5 sprues. Alright, so let's have a look at the next page. So this particular kit has a full interior. Right, so it's a very detailed cockpit. So you've got all your radios, pilot's instrument panel, you've got your pedals, etc. Right, your column, and it is extremely complex. Same for the other side. So the cockpit being almost all glass, you will be able to see all the details inside. So this kit doesn't come with pilots, which is a common thing nowadays. I don't think, in fact, very few 48 scale aircraft kits come with any kind of crew, which sometimes is a shame. If you want to make a wheels up version, means you've got to have to source a crew from somewhere else. Anyway, let's have a look-see. So, carry on with the interior. Like I said, it's very detailed. Then we get to this area here, which is behind the cockpit, and that is your bomb bay. So, turning the page, you put the pencil fuselage together, like so. More details go into the cockpit area. More details go into as far as bulkheads are concerned. And then we carry on. So this looks like a, sorry, bring it down a bit so you can see it, sorry. That is an optional part. It's an auxiliary fuel tank. Okay, so you could put that in there instead of having bombs or something like that. So that's optional. You don't necessarily have to put that in there. And the wings go together, wheels, and then flaps. So it's got individual ailerons on it. Wing goes onto the fuselage. And this is, I might notice, it's a high wing. That's the top of the fuselage, and this goes on the top of the fuselage. Then you've got your tails. Alright, so it has a twin tails. So you've got a few parts to go on here, including, sorry, forgot the word for them now. Basically, these are the actuators for the brake stop activators. Sorry, getting my words all mixed up here. For the ailerons on a tail, which are separate. So yes, you can actually put them into any position you want. And then we get to the bomb racks. Okay, so you've got plenty of bomb racks. These actually go into, as you can tell, the belly of the aircraft. So like I said, this is quite detailed. It has a full bomb load. Okay, so that's pretty good. If you're going to put those in there, you would definitely leave the bomb bays open. You'll never see them otherwise. And then we get to, next step is undercarriage. Alright, so these are your main undercarriage parts. Undercarriage legs. Okay. And then we start getting to, which is the engines. So engine frames, etc., etc. Okay, so you've got your wheel bay doors, and then we carry on putting all these bits, and we're already up to step 55. So there's a lot of steps in this one, which is good because that shows you how much detail is actually in this model. So as you can tell by here, alright, so this is the engines, which you'll make 2 of, and it is quite complex. You do have individual exhaust parts which go on the exhaust ring, okay, and then that all goes onto the engine. So that's quite complex, and will take a lot of patience to get those in the right place. But that's another reason why I like this model, because it is very, very detailed. Okay, and then you put the engines on the front. Well, I should say cylinder section and the propeller boss on the front of the engines. Okay, and again, even more complex parts going on to the front cowling of the engines. So yes, these are very detailed engines, and probably the only thing they don't have is the wiring, which 48 scale you wouldn't see anyway after the cowlings are on. Okay, so then here we have engine service panels. So I guess you'll have a choice. It is giving you an option of leaving them open. So if the aircraft is on the ground, you can leave them open, or you can close them up. So that is an interesting one. I would be tempted to leave at least one side open so you can see the detailed engine, but it all depends on how you want to present this. I'm sure that it would just make life a little bit more difficult when it came to painting if you had them open. Okay, so yet again, even more small parts are going on. These are air vents going on the bottom of the engines. Okay, then you've got your wheels. So your wheels will come on, join the rest of the landing legs, and then even more of the doors themselves, the rear doors of the landing gear come in, and even more. So here we have one. So you do have options. I shouldn't say options. You've got parts on the clear sprue, which you won't be using. So this is your belly gunner, rear belly gunner, I should say. So the machine guns themselves are 3 parts. Having put together a ICM Heikel, they are quite nicely detailed. And then you've got your bomb bay doors, so you can leave those open or close them. If you close them, you could probably ignore doing the bomb racks, because I don't think you'll see them at all once the aircraft is closed up. Okay, and then main cockpit. And as you can tell, this guy was very busy inside. There are 4 machine guns that are in the main cockpit, 3 pointing to the rear, 1 pointing forward. So whoever had the bad luck of being the rear gunner, he was a very busy person. Okay, and then that main cockpit goes on the fuselage, nose goes on, and that has another machine gun. Okay, so literally the cockpit area itself has 6 machine guns, 1 in the nose, 1 forward cockpit, 3 at the back, and 1 underneath. So yes, that would have been a very busy crew when they were under attack. Okay, so next we get to, so here you'll see that ICM has given you a top and bottom view, and it also shows you where the radio aerial runs from the right tail to forward on the fuselage. This is where you get to put on your decals. Okay, so again, the decals are quite comprehensive with fuel filler marks, etc., warnings, and all the other things that go on the aircraft. Right, and then we move on to the colours. So this aircraft has 1, 2, 3, 4 colour callouts. Okay, winter 41 Russia, May 41 Greece, France August 1940, and another France August 1940. So basically, as you can tell, different units. So 2 French campaign aircraft, and 1 for Greece and 1 for Russia. Okay, and that's the instructions. So like I said, this is a very detailed cockpit with the bomb bay, all the other details that go on this. So this is quite a nice aircraft to build. Alright, in a second we'll have a look at the sprues. Okay, so welcome back, and first up we will have a look at the Decor Sheet. So as I said before, there are 4 colour callouts for different aircraft, and of course, naturally enough, you get different aircraft registrations. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 different unit insignia, plus of course your usual German crosses. You also have your normal footway stripes, warnings, etc. for the rest of the aircraft, including, and down here we have instruments for the pilot's instrument panel, and also the side instruments beside the cockpit. Okay, so register on this, really nice, looking very sharp. So that is quite comprehensive. So since you'll only use 1 set of serial numbers for this, that means you actually get some spares if you need to for other aircraft down the track. Okay, so put those aside. Next, we will have a look at the clear sprue. So this is from the bottom, and turning it over, that looks very clear. Alright, so you've got, like I said, you've got 2 cockpits. This one you don't use. The one for this particular aircraft is the one with the machine gun position on the right hand side. So yeah, the differentiation between clear and actually parts that are going to be painted is really sharp. So yeah, and only one of these will be used on this aircraft. There's your nose. So they all look fairly clear. Actually, they are extremely clear, so I do like that. I would suggest probably getting an aftermarket masking kit or some form of masking for this cockpit, since it does have some quite thin framework between the glass. Okay, so that's your clear parts. Next we'll have a look. Next we'll have a look at, this is the next sprue. So on here you have your main engine sections, bulkheads, auxiliary fuel tank. These are parts for the bomb racks, and also some interior fittings for the cockpit. That's your loop aerial, it goes on the top of the aircraft, and also wheels. So the wheels are for the cockpit. There's your pilots, undercarriage, flap wheels, etc. And also here you have got your main undercarriage. Okay, so this will need care removing, otherwise it could quite easily break, as well as this. Alright, so this is a seat, and as you can tell, it's connected in 4 different spots. The undercarriage legs are connected in 6 spots, so there are some delicate pieces that will need a bit of care to remove from this, but the engine nacelles, although it's quite light, do have panel lines. I can feel them with my fingernail, so they're not too deep, but you can actually see them, and they should come up quite well once the aircraft is painted. Right, so let's put that aside. Next is just about the biggest sprue, and this will give you an idea of how big this is. So, full fuselage, interior bulkheads, so these are your tail planes and your ailerons. Okay, so interior bulkheads again, and I'll show you this here. Alright, so that's an interior bulkhead, and it has 4 main connections. It should be quite easy to get that off, but look at the detail. That's beautiful detail, including down to the holes in the frame. Same on this end, interior bulkheads. Okay, and yes, they do have holes in them, so that's beautiful work. That's really nice. Here we have internal instruments. Okay, so this is your instrument binnacles for inside the cockpit. So you could go for a aftermarket photo etch. I believe Edward does make one, or just paint these up, depending on how much detail you want to put in this cockpit. Alright, so fuselage does have panel lines on it, but they are extremely light. They're not very deep. I'm not sure if they would show up, although they should show up after painting. Not that it matters. So this is, as they say, this was the pencil bomber because the fuselage was extremely thin. That was its nickname. Alright, beautiful aircraft. From what I've read, a really nice aircraft to fly. Pilots actually did enjoy flying this aircraft. So let's have a look. So interior wise, there is nothing in the fuselage because you put all that in. The kit does include the full interior for the cockpit and the bomb bay, as we've seen in the instructions. So really nice, really nice. So let's put that aside. So next comes up the biggest part, the wings. Okay, so let's have a close look. Naturally enough, top, bottom, wheel wells. So again, panel lines, but they are quite shallow, so they're not deep. So how much will actually show up after the aircraft has been painted is hard to say. And that is the wingspan of the aircraft. It is quite big, quite solid wings, but it does have really nice detail for all your access panels for the wings, fuel, etc. Right, it's all quite nicely laid out. Same for the bottom. So all your fuel panels, access panels, etc. nicely picked out, and they should show up quite well. Okay, so that's the wings. So next we've got two sprues. Exactly the same. So we'll have a look at one. I'll get rid of that one. And these are, as you can tell, the engines. Right, so propeller, exhausts. Alright, cylinder heads. So this is the engines and your bombs. Alright, so let's have a look. Let's turn it over. And as you can tell, so this will be a tricky one to remove without destroying anything. It is quite fine, as is this one. Alright, unfortunately, they put the mold mounts right in the middle between the pins, and there is a bit of flash on there as well. So that's going to be a tricky one to get out without destroying. Cylinder head, beautiful. Fins, the whole lot. Okay, so there is some very fine parts on here. So, exhaust nozzles, separate. So, obviously it was easier to build it this way, but it's going to be tricky putting it together and getting them all in the right angle. So, a little bit of patience is called for, or maybe a lot of patience, we shall see. Bombs, okay, bombs are one piece, solids, so you'll only have a bit of cleanup where the sprue's attached to and the mold line. Okay, but yeah, the detail on the engines is quite spectacular, and even the inside of the wheel wells, undercarriage doors I should say, not wheel wells. So yes, I am impressed with that. The only thing I'm not impressed with is the connection for the propellers. Okay, so you've got just in the wrong spot, I think. So it will be tricky. I love the fact that it's got a very complex engine, but the connections, yeah, they're going to need a little bit of care to remove things like that without destroying it. Okay, but as you can see, it is quite a complex aircraft with a lot of detail in the cockpit and on the engines. Right, so that brings us to the end of this review. What can I say? This is a really detailed, nicely molded and modeled aircraft, and if I had the space for it, I'd probably be building it right now. At the moment, I don't, but I am working on expanding my display space, so we'll see what the future brings me. Okay, anyway, I hope you got something from this review. Until next time, take it easy, and I'll see you later.